Good afternoon, folks. Hope your morning was good. We are back here to finish up that last little bunny tutorial that I was doing, which is another Easter one, which is this one, part 1. So what you're going to do is find, for part 2, you're just going to find within the title of part 1, you're going to find the 2 or 3 words that are the same in the title, and that will get you to the part 1, which I had been doing earlier. And now we're going to do part 2 of it. So come on down to the table and we'll finish up part 2 for this little Easter Bunny tutorial this afternoon. Okay, so hello, here we are to the part 2 of this Easter Bunny tutorial. I'm probably going to name this one, have the name Bluebells in it somewhere, because there seems to be, you know, I've got a lot of Easter Bunny titles, and I'm trying to find little different names that will go to the second part. I mean, within the title for the first and second part, that will help to identify it, but you'll be able to. Okay, so what we're going to do here in the first one, we did the basket. I'm going to actually go in and add a bit more we took the brush. I'm using a different brush right now. The first time around I used this brush, which is a Transin size 16 with the most beautiful point. But I was working on the bluebells up there, and so that I used a small brush like this for those. So what we're going to do right now is I want to show you something. I want to show you how, although, you know, we can take these small brushes and we can paint the stems of things, or we can take these big brushes with the beautiful points and do them. We can also do these funky little things that you just dip it in the paints. It's the bottom of a brush or a stick or whatever you might have. And I started it, and you can draw your stem. Get another little color, find another stem here, make sure we don't have any water to drip off, and just, it's not going to be as efficient as, of course, a brush, but it's just another way. It's kind of cool, I think, and it does make a pretty good, you know, stem. I mean, that's a good line. Say I wanted to come here, I'm going to add a little yellow to what I've got here. A little watery. I didn't want it that watery, but I guess it'll work. And I know that even so, I can go, I'm going to get a little yellow with my green. And I can even go to, trying to find a leaf. I can come over here, and if I have enough on my brush handle, I can literally paint it in. Got to keep going back, well, we do anyway. So, and we're going around very carefully this white flower, and I'm just using the handle of the brush. Isn't that pretty cool? I think that's pretty cool. I have a little water on it, and I have a little water on my in the paints, but not on the paper. So this is a cool way to, another, you know, interesting, cool way to paint some leaves. So here we are here. You can see it a little better. I actually have it on the bottom of my brush. I keep swirling it around in the paint, and I'm sort of painting in. I think that is right. I'm going to get some reds, put it in there. I can mix things just like I mix them with the brush. You got to have, you know, water on it so that it will, you know, blend, move around. But isn't that just the funkiest thing you've ever seen? So you can use sticks, ends of your sticks of your paint brushes. You know, the fun thing about all this is that you think of it and you try it, right? Just try it. You see, I'm able to blend. I'll take a little bit of that off. I'll just dip it in the yellow, and then come over here and add the yellow. And see? Right in. It went right in. That is so cool to me. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, I just wanted to show you that. Oh, wait a minute, I got a couple other places I wanted to use the stick for. So we're going to just like that. We're going to go, I'm using my baby finger to sort of balance my hand. There's a bunch of little areas that I'll be putting little flowers on. I can make it by very lightly touching the paper. I can make thin ones, or, you know, by a little more pressure and a bit more paint on the brush, we can make it thicker. But no, I just wanted to show you that. I think that's really cool. I prefer to use the brush, but anyway, it is a cool thing. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do all these stems that went to these flowers, and I'm just going to maybe I'll do both. Maybe I'll, you know, jump between my brush and the stick. We'll see. The light's, you know, coming down, so on the top, the lesson in that is that on the top the colors are going to be a bit lighter. when they connect, when the stems connect to the branch, they're darker where the stems connect. So that's just something to, you know. Now we're going to do this real light leaf here. Started with yellow, and then I got a little too much water in that green there, but on my palette, that's okay. I will just fix that. I'm going to add a little blue into this, and it's wet. I have a lot of water on my brush, and I wet the page a little. So there's a pretty little leaf up there. And we will continue to, with the very tip of the brush, this is a very small brush, we're just going to outline our little stems here. Our stems. To get a little darker as they come, I'm going to add some red. And we'll make this little leaf up here on the reddish, greenish side. Move this around a little. I think I'll get a little bit of burnt sienna in there. I always like that combination with greens, and then just kind of pull up like that for your, I'm going to add some little thicker paint here. Not so watered down. Add some green and some other green in there. We have that colored one. Now I'm going to again add a little more yellow, because we're kind of up at the top here, and we want to have, there's many ways to make leaves, folks. That's another thing. This one's a bit of a fat one, so I've got a few strokes and doing it like that. And you always, you know, add your darks on the bottom and where you want your shadow. My light's kind of coming from the top in this picture, so it seems to be the way I'm doing the bunny ones. So we can have highlights wherever we want the highlights. And then I'm going to go just take some of the yellow and add it back in. I'm noticing that my eyes are, I have trouble with my eyes anyway, but I had this really bad cold for a month, actually a couple times, and I got a cold in my eyes, which I have never had in my whole life. Well, I think it has affected my eyes, so anybody out there praying, just pray that it is not, but I am noticing a difference, and I'm not sure why. May have to go check that out now that the cold is over. I don't know what happened, but at least I can still paint anyway. It might just need to work its way out, but a little difficult sometimes. Okay, so we got a bunch of varying leaves there, right? So we're just going to keep going with the leaves and the stems. Make sure you don't, you want to have some of them a little thicker, some of them a little browner. You know, you want different colors happening. This one is going to be a little bit more on the brown side with a little red in it and a bunch of colors that I have sitting in my palette. I don't know if you can see it, but you see, this is how I blend colors. I'm taking different colors from my palette all the time, and I'm, you know, mixing them here. And I'll get all these different color blends. And I leave them there, and I work with them to do different color blends on the palette, on the in the painting, because it really, you know, does some really pretty stuff. I'm going to take some of these greens and reds, and I'm going to draw some. This happens to be a leaf here, in between and behind. The way this leaf is being done is point down, press with the belly of it, which is the big part of the brush, and you'll get that type of a leaf. Take a little out for highlight, and it's really kind of hard to see all these little stems everywhere, but and I'm going to do some lighter ones, not pressing very hard, and I'm using a lighter color here, and we'll just make this leaf here a yellowy leaf. That's yellow ochre with a mixture of that and green. We're going to come down here and pull up this one. It's a lot of little stems that, and then we're going to come back down here where it's connected to the stem. And remember, I told you wherever it's connected to the stem, you do want to darken that area. That's just natural, you know, that's the natural way that these flowers and plants and leaves all work, right? So we want to add that. Now what I did there with my finger is I just sort of took a little bit of the too dark out of that. You can do that, but you got to do that carefully. All right, and then come down here, add a little red. So put that in, and I'm just barely touching the paper. We want the green as well. This one's coming down here. These flowers are not wet now, so it's not going to blend much. I can blend it a little with my brush and water and paint. I meant that to be green. That's okay. We want these little pretty flower. Make a little bit on the flower itself to indicate the, you know, the green that's attached to the stem and then to the flower. We'll come over here, and though this is dried up, we're going to add a little darker area there and smooth it around. You want to have a variance in your lights and your darks. Now we've got some leaves that I want to do here, so I'm going to add some bluish leaves, bluish greenish leaves. Point down, let the barrel make the fat part and come up. All these technical terms, right? Okay. So that's more of a bluish color. Add a little more blue in there because I really want a nice blue. See that? That's pretty. And I think I'm going to just wing one right off here, although I didn't draw it. There, I can see it there. So that's, you know, that's all part of how that works. And I'm putting in some red into there. And now I'm going to, with the same brush, with that right on my brush, I'm going to take the tip and I come right around here where this little stem is happening. Some green in there. I have quite a bit of water on my brush. And what these are those pretty little, mix it in with some of the colors I have. And they're just these squiggly, they're really no particular shape whatsoever. Just these squiggly little flowery things. You can do it however you want it. Big ones, small ones, squiggly. It goes all the way up and down the stem. All right, and so that they don't seem like they're floating on air, we're just going to take the brush and just sort of draw some lines here and there so your eyes, you know, see that, and they know they're attached to some degree. And then we got some pretty leaves that I have just scattered around. Scattered around here. So we'll put them like that in there. Actually take some of that out. And I guess we need some regular green again. So let's do, I guess I've got a leaf here. I have a lot of leaves because I want to have lots of foliage in between all these things. So we're just gonna add them in with different colors. We put a little purple on that. It'll darken up the green and make it a different color, kind of a green. Add a little yellow into what I just grabbed. Point down, belly, come up. Point down, belly, come up. You can make it rounded like that or have a point. You can just have a nice point come out there if you want. You can drag a line, put a line in. You don't have to do any of those. And then we have the same purpley deal going on over here, but I'm going to make it lighter. I'm actually going to make it a little pinker too. Well, it's more pink, I guess you'd call it. This is basically dabbing and scriggling. They're little scriggles, and that's all they are. And I think I will add pinks to the purples here. See that? Makes it pretty, doesn't it? And dab a little bit of color to blur that just a little bit out of sight, kind of. All right, so some more foliage here, because we want to have, you know, all inside here and around. We want the indication of foliage happening everywhere, or I do. Get some real dark green going on. This is one of my favorite colors, perline green. Oh, beautiful green, just beautiful. So we just dance it around. Doesn't have to even really resemble a leaf. It just says to the eye there's foliage in there, and it's down underneath, so inside here like this, so that means it's going to be just a bit darker. So we get that there, and we're just going to take some pink into the, and let's get some other types of greens going on here. And we want to actually, I think I'll make that a big one. So we're going to just, there's plenty of water on my brush. I'm going to take some mauve and I'm going to put it in there. And right next to this one, I'm going to add some of this color and make it look like it's a leaf that is sort of in the background there. And just kind of coming out and hanging down like that. I might even put some sepia. Yeah, that's, yes. Put some sepia in the part of the leaf to, you know how leaves tend to get rotted, you know, in areas. And here we have some yellows coming in and taking out some color for highlight. So we have that. We do have eggs down here. I did some eggs. I'm going to take water. I'm going to water that egg. And I'm going into my Indian yellow. And I'm going to let that, whoa, that's pretty. Love that color, Indian yellow. Some of the greens and reds that I had going on. And it's going to mix with it. And then we're going to take out some color right here. And then go back into my Indian yellow and dab it around to make it a little more pronounced. There we go. Dab it for that one. And then we don't want to do this one yet unless I wanted all the colors of this one to blend into this one, which I don't. So I'm going over here to this egg. And let's see, we've got a purple, we've got a yellow, we're going to lighten this a little bit and darken it, I mean, a little bit as soon as it dries more. A little drier, but you know what, I don't need to wait for that. I'll come in and just on this side here where it's in the shadow. All right, so we did those. Blue, that's what I wanted to do, and I'm going to dab into my my metallic blue as well. And I've got a I think this is Peruvian blue. Beautiful color. Look at that color, just amazing. And I'm letting some of the, dark areas stay that way, and the light areas, I don't know if any of that metallic will actually show in certain light or not, but we put it in. So that's very pretty. And now I think we'll come over here and put some water on. I just won't go right up to it, but I kind of have to move along with this video. I don't want it too long. But there's so many variations of ways that you can, make these cute little bunny tutorials. And you could actually, excuse me, make them, excuse me, with all water combination, wet on wet, all dry on wet, dry on dry. I mean, it's all the preference that you want. Excuse me. I'll probably lose my voice before we get through with this. And we had some more, and I'm going to make it a little pinker. Some of these little, whoops, and that's one thing you gotta be careful of. You don't put your hand right in what you just painted. It's always fun when you're trying to explain things, there. So we've got that one going on there. And then all of these little flowers here, I wanted to remain white, mostly white. So it's just taking a very light wash of a color and just going around. You don't want too wet, but we want enough so we just get a little color for shadow in certain areas of it, leaving most of the white. Oh, there we go. I wanted to have the outline. There we go. So we're just going to pull in here and there along the petals, some of the color leaving most of the white. I've got to outline his paw a little bit because we're right next to the flower that I want to jump out as white, and plus we need to darken underneath his chin, and also this here. Just kind of wiggle that color around a little bit because that's in the shadowy area. And we'll take a yellowish greenish, a very light yellowish greenish, which is the way, excuse me, I have done all of them. Poke in some sepia, go back to the green, and with the tip of my brush, pull out a few little lines like that. Now, again, as I've stated in other videos, and whether I'll have time to do that in this one or not, I don't know, but I'll explain it. We want the white flowers to pop out. They're there, you can see them, but they're not popping out. So the only way to really make that happen is I'm going to take some green with a little purple and a little sepia. Payne's gray. And I'm just going to, I need a little more. There we go. I want a deep green. And all along the edges, out from the flower, to indicate foliage, we're going to very carefully paint in around the flowers. You see how these tips work like that? Now this is a small brush, which you'd think, oh, you'd have to have a really small brush to do that. Watch what the tip of this big fat brush can do in that same way. I don't have a lot of water on my brush, just some, and I'm going to take the tip of this, and look at this. It's huge brush, but I can do these beautiful little works, not disturbing other things, going around in these little areas with the tip of this brush. These brushes are amazing. These, I'll put a little pink in there. Well, not too much because I wanted it darker. Okay, hold on. Screwed myself up there for a minute. Okay, so we want this even darker. So we're going to come in with even darker green with a lot of mixed colors in it to bring this flower out, make it pop out. You see how it's already starting to pop off the page so much more than it was before. Even around this edge, I'm just going to put in some dark because it would be shadowy under these little areas anyway, underneath the basket top here. I need to add that for the shadow. And you see, wet this a little, bring this down, and see how we just made that jump off the page. I'm going to come over here, do the same thing. I have now, as you can see, I've jumped to my large brush with this amazing tip. Grab a little bit of yellow with that green and draw this one in. And we're going to go right around again. And while we're doing it, we're adding shadow to the basket. We're adding shadow to the leaves. I had one here. I just have the leaves everywhere because I wanted to have a lot of foliage. Okay, carefully going around. I mean, what a beautiful job this thing does. I'm going to add it some little bit of Indian yellow in there. And this Indian yellow happens to be acrylic. Varying up my color of my leaves, but I want it dark. Look at how carefully this brush went around that stuff. Of course, I'm being careful as well. I mean, it's part of what, it's not just the brush and it's not just your hand. It's working together with the brush and your own hands to bring all these effects about. But see how that, it's so, it's so beautiful how this all happens. And we'll just keep going around, we'll keep going around the leaf, adding in the darker places, going back and adding to darken it even more, because remember that watercolor dries light. Come around here. We're drawing our leaves with our brush. We can put some red in it. That would be fine because it's still dark. It's still gonna bring out the flower because we've mixed some very dark green in there. So see, it's still gonna do that. I'm pressing on my belly a bit more to move it around. Take a little of that out. I'm gonna kind of move it around. Make sure it's real dark right near the flower. We're still going to come around this flower because we want this flower. I'm actually off the size paper that I'm doing, but that's okay. That really just doesn't make any difference whatsoever. I'm just, for purposes of showing you what I'm doing and explaining it, we can go off the paper. It's not any kind of problem at all. I've halved it, that's all. Which if I didn't tell you, you probably never would have known, right? So what I'm doing is adding a little yellow here and there, but I need to go back up and around here, following the movement of the leaf and darken that up, excuse me. And now that leaf's standing out. This one's standing out now, this one's standing out. That's how that works, and it makes such a difference when you're painting instead of having, everything. You can have it really light. You can have everything just be light anyway, like a pastel-y you know, real light. But I like the vividness, even though it's watercolor. I like both, but I do like to be vivid, vivid sometimes. Boy, sometimes you just get tongue-tied. We're going to put some more of that there. We're going to add a little bit of sepia under here and within this handle, because underneath the handle would be a rather darkish, because there's no light happening there, right? And that's his ear. I needed to come back and add some. See how well this brush does? I can put the belly down of it, which is this part, and go flat and cover a big space, or I can use the beautiful tip. And we're going to just add some green and make fine lines. I jumped to so many things because I'm trying to tell you so many things, and I'll finish it offline, but I mean, there's really not much. See how many minutes have we? Yeah, I don't want to go too much longer, but maybe we could just go kind of fast. I won't talk much. See if I can just get some pretty foliage going on here. A few different greens. Whoops, brush is too dry. Yeah, that's pretty. See, I have some purples and pinks, and oh, I just love how that happens. Some there. Getting all those variances in your foliage. And you know, you can just do this. This also indicates foliage as part of the, put some lighter color in there. It's part of how we, you know, loose, just not even really drawing it. I'm just letting my brush sort of, whoosh, just flicking it around. And doesn't that appear as foliage? Yes. So what I'm going to do down here is I'm just going to do that. In between, just going to flick it around. Get a little darker in some areas. Add this color and that color, and there's a little white flower right here. So I lost the white flower in my flicking. All right, that's okay. We're going to go in and take the paint out. So that's getting the paint off your brush, wetting it, coming back. It was right here because the bunny was smelling it. That's how I had that. And we lost his little nose, so we'll put that back in there. Now, because I lost the white, I'm going to go into my white and I'm going to cheat a little, they call it, but I don't really consider it cheating. It's paint. You can use it if you want, or you don't have to. I'm doing that white, going back to the pink, outline, you know, some of the, it'll look a little bit like it's hiding in the, but it's still a flower, and you still, you know, your mind will, if it looks enough like a flower, your mind will do the rest. Then we'll take that yellowy green in the center, like all the other ones are. A little yellow more in that one, a little yellow. And with the same, still with this big brush, go into some sepia and some of my darker colors. Dot some in, make sure the water's out. Pull some, do some things like that. Might need a little more green in the center here. Well, let's see. Yeah, there we go. And go into the yellow again and brighten that up a little. Whoops, I had a little too much, but here's the thing. Okay, I'm leaving that. You know why? You can also have texture in your paintings. That would be a whole nother video, but I mean, that is, it was globbed. I put it was globbed. I didn't know I had a glob. But look what how pretty that is. I actually think I'm going to go back to the others, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to glob it. So there's some texture going on. Make sure I really get that out of my brush because it's acrylic. All right, so And because that basket has lost some of its whites, and then because it's lost both a bit, we're going to go in and over here on this side where it's a bit darker, and down in the, there it goes. But you can still know, you can see that he is definitely in a basket. You know that. Your mind is telling you that. It looks like a basket. Put some of the dark there. Put some of the white. We want dark and we want light. The top of it, of course, would be lighter because it's at the top. Add some to his ears. I'm going to add a little more of the whites around his fur to give some of the highlights that we lost. Right, and we need the eye. For that eye, where watercolor white just doesn't do it, I'm going into the acrylic and dab the, oops. Okay. It'll show up more, just shows up better. And I think we are just about, I'm gonna layer on top of what I've already painted, and it's pretty dry. I'm gonna add a green and yellow mix that is not the same as what I've got going on here, and we're gonna paint over some leaves like that there. I'm gonna put a couple here that are lighter, sort of vary it up a little, get a little water on there, put some there, a couple here, just go around and wisp it around, draw them in, wisp it around. And that is looking pretty full. I do not really want to add much more at all to that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to dip into my gold, and in a few of these leaves, in a few places, I'm going to add this metallic gold. And what will happen is in the right lighting, it'll sparkle in different places, which I think is pretty cool. One other thing, I did lose the white of this flower. I'm taking the acrylic and I'm going around again with the white of the flower just to bring that back. It's going to be a little mixture, I guess, but that's all right. I mean, it's kind of hidden in the within things, so you wouldn't see it that white anyways. And what I can go back in after, when it dries a bit more, is I can go back in to it and continue to just sort of plug in some more white or whatever I want. So we're going to leave this now with one other little thing. Taking my big, not going to use this brush, it's too big. I'm going to do some pretty little decoration to the very end of this to give it a bit of pizzazz. Now, if I use this one, I'm going to get tiny drops. If I use this one, I'm going to get way too much drops, like blobs, and I don't want either one. So I'm going to take a kind of medium-sized brush, which probably is going to be like, no, neither one of those. All right, this is good right here. Take this size right here. A lot of water on it, okay? Now the decision is, which color little dots do I want to be splattered all around here. I think I'll choose, let's see, you would choose whatever you want. I'm gonna grab some pink water, very watery. You take a brush, you hold it, and you do this. And what you're gonna get are these cute little splatters, wet it again, all over. But it just, you know, I'm gonna change now and get a yellow. Has to be very wet. Everything has to be wet, like sopping. And there you get these cute little splatters all around your painting. I'll even go into the gold metallic, sprinkle some of those, and you just might see them in the right lighting. So there we go, folks. We have finished. I like to get everything cleaned up while I'm working with it. Let me give it another good swish in the water because it did have acrylic. Wipe them off, right? Form them back up to keep that beautiful tip on there. And there we have the little bunny, kind of lost in the flowers and everything. But that's the whole point, is that he's, there's one thing I am noticing though, that is, just get a little darker for a minute here. Sort of lost the, we want to know he's there, so I'm just going to outline a little bit of his ear and stuff again. And there we go. And his body is right here. It kind of got lost. There, that, is a better indication of the fact that he is there. And then we don't see that, the white of this flower here, so I'm going to just use that area to darken a little to go around that flower and show that it'll pop out, see, a little bit more. So that's it, folks. That's it for this, the second part of this tutorial, which will probably have something to do with bluebells in the name of it, but you'll see part 1 and part 2 will have the similar words within it, so you'll know. I hope you've really enjoyed it. These are really fun, these little Easter tutorials, and fun to do. I'm not sure how many more I'll do, but I will do some more. And I'll finish a few little places that to finish the painting and sign it. And now I wanted to show you something. If I see this flower here, I want this flower to pop out more. I'm going to take some whites. I left the white of the paper, but I'm going to go in with some white again, and I'm going to dab it around. See how that's jumping off more? Jumping off the page? Yeah. So that's all. So that's it, folks, for this one. Check out my other tutorials. Leave comments or questions, whatever. Let me know you like them. I hope I'm being encouraging for you. That's the whole point of my channel, is to encourage you all in watercolor, as it's not the easiest medium in the world to paint with, but you learn it and keep practicing, and it will become a whole lot of fun, I promise. So have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.